Merhaba arkadaşlar and welcome to Turkling, where we try to teach you Turkish in a simple way. Today we're going to be looking at how to say when I did something and while I did something. So there's two different ways. So we're going to look at them, look at a few verbs and then some examples at the end just so that we fully understand. Let's go. Okay, so let's start off how to say when in Turkish. When I go to the shop, when I think about you. So let's take an example of a verb so that it makes a bit more sense. I'm going to take the verb gelmek, which means to come. So gelmek is the infinitive form, which basically just means that it means to come. We don't when we're utilizing a verb, we don't use it in its infinitive form. So we need to get rid of the mek. That's the thing that makes it infinitive. So we get rid of this portion and we are left with gel. This is the same for any other verb. Düşünmek, gitmek, gelmek. They all end with this mek or mak. So I've got gel in this situation. Now all I have to do is add my ince suffix, gel, ince, and that's it. And so that's how I say when I come. Pretty simple, huh? Okay, so now I'm gonna move to a different example of düşünmek, to think. Okay, so düşünmek. So for here, I'm gonna get rid of the mek once again, and I'm left with düşün. But unfortunately in Turkish, things aren't as simple as we just add one suffix to every single verb. This thing called vowel harmony in Turkish means that depending on how the verb or the word sounds, we add a different ending that corresponds to that sound to make it sound a bit more fluid and more natural. So with düşün, it sounds a bit weird to say düşününce. It doesn't exactly match. It might be difficult to hear if you're a beginner, but over time this will become second nature. So for düşün, we have to add düşününce, okay? Which is spelt düşün, and I'm going to add düşününce, okay? So it'll either be ince or unce, depending on the vowel harmony. But there are two examples. Let's move on to while. So for this, we have the suffix ken. It's a little bit more complicated than when we're saying when, because we have to take into consideration the present simple tense, otherwise known as geniş zaman in Turkish. So let's take a look at this. So I'm going to take the same example of gelmek, to come. And I'm taking it in the infinitive form once again. So same thing, you get rid of the infinitive, you're left with gel. And you can't just add ken here. That's wrong. What you have to do is add the suffixes from the present simple tense. So of course we've got ur, ar, er, ir, ur. And again, this is to do with how the verb sounds and the vowel harmonies, which is, if you want to know about that, that's going to be a topic for a different video. But in this situation, it's gelir. This is what sounds right. So this is what Turkish language uses, gelir. And once you've found out what that is, you just add the ken. Gelirken, which means while I came or while I was coming. The good thing about these things is that it doesn't just apply to one tense. If you want to say while I came in the past, you use gelirken, but you can also say while I was coming, you can also use gelirken, which makes it a bit simpler. Let's do one more example with ken. So I'm going to take the verb içmek, which means to drink. So içmek, same thing, get rid of the mek. I'm left with each. Got to figure out which present simple thing is going to match with each. So içur sounds weird. İçar sounds weird. İçer, that's the right one. It's not as simple as just going through them. There are specific rules, but I don't recommend learning the rules because it's an effort and it's better just to hear things. That your Turkish learning process will be so much easier. So içer and then ken. Okay, so that's it. Let's move on to examples now. So let's go through some examples and sentences to actually see how these suffixes work. So I've written down two sentences, so we're going to just translate them very slowly to really understand what's going on. So first one, komşum arabayla tatile giderken kardeşi genellikle uçakla seyahat ediyor. Okay, so let's try tackle this one. So, komşum. The at the end is suggesting that this is mine, it belongs to me, okay? And komşu means neighbor, so my neighbor. Arabayla. So we see the word araba, which means car, and then we've got the la over here. I'm going to highlight it. La, when you add it to a means of transport, it means by, so by car. So my neighbor by car. Tatil means holiday. Tatile, when we add that means to, so to holiday. Giderken. So that means while, remember ken is while my neighbor goes to holiday by car, let's carry on. Kardeşi, kardeş means brother or sister. I is suggesting that it is the komşu's brother or sister. So kardeşi, genellikle, generally, uçakla, remember we're seeing that la again here, by plane, uçak, travels. So generally, the brother travels by plane. So we're making a comparison here. This is another way that you can use giderken, or the ken verb, ken suffix, sorry. Okay, let's move on to the next one where we're gonna actually highlight a negative way of saying these things. So kardeşim, so again, brother or sister, my brother or sister, gelmeyince. So in Turkish, whenever we see this me, it's usually about something negative when it's in a verb. Gelmiyorum. I'm not coming. Let's write that down. Gelmiyorum. Me. So gelmeyince. So when my brother didn't come, polisi, the police, çağırdım. I called. So when my brother didn't come, I called the police. So we can add a negative. Or we can say, when my brother came. How would we say that? So we would say, kardeşim gelince. What's good about the ince and ken suffix is that you don't have to change it depending on who you are talking about. If you're talking about yourself or your brother or someone else, it's always going to be the same. So that makes it much easier.